In this part of our trip, we were spending a lot of time in mangroves, looking for different species of mangrove snakes. And while Martin was typically head down, mind on task looking for the snakes, I kept finding myself distracted by the abundance of other life living in the mangroves.
Just a little kid watching the Discovery Channel. What a beauty.
Such as these guys here, Semaphore Crabs. They're pretty cool. They will come out of the water at low tide and forage through detritus and things to try to find food. And they're also arboreal. They can be found climbing through the trees, which is a pretty unique thing to see with crabs, or at least it feels like it to me. And they have these really vibrant colors. You can see how purple this guy is here, and the males have more distinctively colored claws that they'll use for communication and territorial disputes. And they'll wave their claws in the air for this communication, part of where they get the name Semaphore Crab. I had a good time just allowing him to crawl around on me and watching how cool he looked and the way he moved around and how adept he was at that arboreal lifestyle, just hanging onto my arm, casually climbing across, always kind of scouring my arm with his front claws, trying to see if he could find any food. Sadly for him, it's an arm. It's not really full of debris for him to be eating. Maybe I should have brought him a snack. I've always had a particular fascination with amphibious animals. Don't get that mistaken for amphibians, that's a completely separate thing. But animals that enjoy an amphibious lifestyle, going in and out of the water, has always been a particular hotspot for me that I've really appreciated and enjoyed experiencing and watching. And these guys really, they fit into that category, as do a lot of other great animals in the area, and crocodiles as well. They're totally awesome. They have obviously nothing to do with crabs, but if I'm bringing up why I like these guys so much because of their amphibious lifestyle while not being amphibians, well then, you can't not mention crocodilians. There are lots of other interesting species sharing this habitat, and other types of crabs as well, and also lots of lizards that live right amongst these high salt areas, more so than I would have expected. And those snakes that we'll be coming to later. I've often managed to get a hold of these guys while fishing by dangling a little bit of food on the end of the line in front of them, and they're so voracious about the way they just grab a hold and just hang on that you can just lift them right out and get a good look at them up close. If you let them crawl on you, they'll be pretty friendly as well, rather than just trying to pinch the crap out of your fingers. Well, it's time to go ahead and that's one way to release him. He just made a break for it. I didn't know they were skydiving crabs. There's plenty of other life out here as well, such as this gecko right here. I'm always surprised by the amount of lizards I see right up next to very salty environments. This really isn't too bad, at least it's brackish here, but there are plenty of skinks that I've seen that'll live right up on the rocks where the pure salt water is just splashing right up on them. And here is one of the other types of crabs out here as well. Here's a better look at one of those house geckos. I was pretty shocked to see them here, as I stated before, part of why I picked them up to get a good view. They seem to take a liking to all kinds of different habitats, especially anything that has human-type structures near it. They really seem to thrive on. I've also noticed that when I see them in more naturalistic environments, they typically have much more mottled and dark patterns to them. Here's one of the other varieties of crabs you commonly see climbing all about in the trees. These guys have a much more flat profile to them and hold much closer to the tree. They're also more fragile, so I guess that's a trade-off for them. The others are bulkier and more tough, but are also hanging way more out in the open for any type of predator to grab a hold of. This one here seems to have a considerably lower energy level than that other crab that was all over the place. Oh, cool, get one. Well, let's go ahead and put this little guy back where we got him and get on to any other exciting parts of this trip. And I'll take this chance to again apologize for the weird wavy flashing patterns on the camera. That's due to the fact that I'm illuminating what I'm filming with my headlamp. My next find was actually pretty cool. Here you can see a truly spectacular specimen of a common tree snake. And despite the name common tree snake, I have still only seen 2 in the wild, and this one right here is a particularly special individual. Of the golden color morph that you find up in the Northern Territory, you have a striking gold body with this beautiful blackish blue head. These snakes across the distribution in Australia have some of the widest color variants of almost any snake, and they seem almost like different species. They are the same, but it feels like you're taking something different off your list every time you find a different color morph of these guys. And here you can see with a different background the truly beautiful colorations that they have and the way it stands out compared to their environment. This was a snake that I was truly happy to find and photograph. The picture you're seeing here is of one that I took to be put onto Instagram. These snakes are in the colubrid family, meaning they are not venomous, or in a technicality, you could say that they're extremely mildly venomous, and some forms of colubrids are rear-fanged with a slightly more potent venom. Colubrids are the most common variety of snake in the New World, but very rare in Australia, with only a few examples roaming the country. When they're angry, they can really show some striking poses and colors, but this guy was pretty calm. It's time to bid him adieu though, and move on to our next find. This is one of the snakes that we were looking for in the mangroves, as I mentioned at the top of the episode. This here is a Cerberus Australis. They derive their name from the fact that their head looks a little bit like a dog. The name Cerberus being derived from the name of the Greek guard dog of the entrance to Hades from mythology. Then Australis, just basically saying they're from Australia. That part is much more self-explanatory and less interesting. These guys are quite a unique snake and were nice to work with. In the areas that we're finding them, they were actually quite abundant. We could see them going all through the mangroves as we walked across different areas, and you could get to these channels where as the water would recede at low tide, they would sit on the edge with like the back of their body wrapped around a root and their head hanging off into the current, waiting there to hunt and grab fish. Then you can see how their eyes are placed near the top of their head so that they can have most of the body submerged and have their eyes out of the water for seeing what's going on. Though a lot of what I've seen, they do hunting underwater, so I suspect that that also helps a lot for hunting fish when they are down low and the fish are swimming above them. You can see not only are their eyes situated up high on their head, but they're also very well defined and glassy, with a nice clearness to them that really carries the light and is pretty photogenic, honestly. These guys are oviviparous, typically giving birth to between 7 and 26 young. Being oviviparous probably helps them living in the environments that they do. They don't have to seek out suitable nesting sites where their eggs can be incubated properly. Here's another picture that I took of one of the specimens we found down in the area. There's nothing super unique to show in this picture, but it is another chance to just get a good look at these snakes and see what makes them unique from another angle in higher res than my phone video can provide. The kind of olive greenish color to them was much more present when viewing them in person than it is in any of the photos or videos that I've captured. Although the ones we found were on more of the plain end of the spectrum, these snakes come in a wide variety of colors, some of which being very striking. There's also a red color morph that is very beautiful that sadly we didn't get the chance to find, but maybe on future trips I'll have the chance to work with and bring to you guys. And here was my last moments with this guy as he decided to take a dive right on into the drink. He had enough of us, and it was time for him to enjoy his night. And here's one of the last places that I was to go on the trip. This was an old homestead that they left erected to show what life was like back in the day, with a couple of little patch pieces to still hold it up. Here you can see one of the main areas that a lot of the pulleys would have been driven off of. There would have been belts coming off of this, and all of that would have tied to the main engine at this place, and they would have had other machinery and things driving off of it. There was also a mine going on in the area that I attempted to go in and look for things, but didn't find much, and it wasn't very stable or smart to be in anyway. It's always cool to see these old motors. You can see right here the giant flywheel necessary to keep this whole operation going, and from the maker's marks on this thing I could see that it had been manufactured over in Europe. That's a very heavy object to ship. We would often stop at these homestead areas like this, trying to look around and see what types of animals may be hanging around due to all the structures, but oftentimes it's a mostly fruitless pursuit. And this is kind of just one last look at the type of terrain and environments that we were dealing with over there. It was quite a beautiful area with a very interesting dispersion of these small palms. I just want to show you what I'm working with. I've mostly given up on good audio quality since I'm doing this stuff on my phone, but the whole time I've got this rascal running around with tons of enthusiasm, trying to play and making tons of racket while I'm trying to record audio. He's very inconsiderate, little rascal. It's been a fun ride, and thank you all for sticking with me through it. This is the last official episode of the series, so stay tuned for anything new that may come up, or maybe some revisits of things that need more detail. Anyway, I'll see you next time, and as always, thanks for watching. So there you go, the end of the 2019 Australia road trip. It was a good time, it had its ups and downs, it was a big adventure, and it was fairly poorly documented, owing to several factors including poor filming equipment and bad editing equipment. But I'm sure you are already more familiar with that than you'd like to be, because I've explained it too much in these end plates, right? So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you had a good time with it. If you want to know more little fun behind the scenes anecdotes about the story and other things that happened during that trip, you can click a video that I'll have linked over here probably. Other than that, yeah, thanks for watching. There'll be another video coming as scheduled tomorrow, but not of the Australia road trip, of something else. I'll see you then. Anyway, real talk right now, I actually really do need your help here at the beginning, so please smash that subscribe button, do all the things, tell some friends about it if you're willing. That would be awesome. You're absolute legends. Have a wonderful day.